Hello children, very glad to meet you all in this episode. Now we are going to discuss two different grammatical items, conjunctions and nominalization. You will have some questions from these two grammatical items. So first one we are going to discuss here is conjunctions. And what do you mean by conjunctions? Conjunctions are otherwise known as connectors or linkers or link words. And what do you mean by linking? That is connecting. So it's used to combine two words sometimes, then two groups of words sometimes, and two sentences. So conjunctions are used to join words or a group of words or sentences. I repeat, and look at the screen. Conjunctions are also known as connectors or linkers or link words. Conjunctions are used to join words, sometimes a group of words, or sometimes sentences also. So there are three types of conjunctions. There are three types of linkers or link words. There are three types of connectors. There are three types of conjunctions. They are coordinating conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions, correlative conjunctions. Let us just see all these one by one. Let me introduce coordinating conjunctions to you and why are they known as coordinating conjunctions, and I'll give you the examples for coordinating conjunctions. These conjunctions link two groups of words that independently make sense. So two main clauses you have. You have already come across main clauses and subordinate clauses in 9th standard. And simple, complex and compound, right? To understand this particular topic, right, you should know how to identify main clauses and subordinate clauses. Now two clauses you have, that is two sentences you have, and both make sense. That means both give complete meaning. So two sentences which make complete sense or two sentences which give complete meaning, they are combined by means of a conjunction and they are known as coordinating conjunctions. They are combined, they are linked, they are connected using a conjunction. So that's called a coordinating conjunction. Look at the example here. I prepared well for the exam, so I scored good marks. I prepared well for the exam, this is a main clause or this is an independent clause. What do we mean independent clause? It gives a complete meaning. It doesn't depend on any other clause or it doesn't depend on any other sentence to complete the meaning. It gives a complete meaning. It stands on its own. So it is a dependent clause, or in other words, if you want me to explain, that is a main clause. I prepared well for the exam, so I scored good marks. So there is one more main clause here. There is one more meaningful sentence here. I scored good marks. So now, to combine these two sentences or to link or to connect these two sentences, we use a word that is so. That is a conjunction. Why do we call it a conjunction? Because it connects or it combines or it links two sentences here. That is two independent clauses here. So these conjunctions are known as coordinating conjunctions. I repeat, these conjunctions link two groups of words that independently make sense. I prepared well for the exam, so I scored good marks. And so is an example for the coordinating conjunction. Let me move on further. Subordinating conjunctions. They help to introduce subordinate clauses. Just now I told you one thing. What is it? Main clause, one, and then other one is the subordinate clause. So clauses are classified into two categories. One is the main clause, other one is the subordinate clause. What is the main clause and what is the subordinate clause? Main clauses give complete meaning, whereas the subordinate clauses do not give the complete meaning. And main clauses are independent clauses, whereas the subordinate clauses are dependent clauses. So now, though it started drizzling, look at the example, though it started drizzling, the match continued. Though it started drizzling, it doesn't give the complete meaning, so that is a subordinate clause. The match continued, that gives the complete meaning and that stands on its own. And that is an independent clause that doesn't depend on the other sentence to just give the complete meaning. That's an independent clause. So that is called, what is it? Subordinate clause. Right? Though it started drizzling, the match continued. Though it started drizzling, that is a subordinate clause. The match continued, that's a main clause. Actually, to just make subordinate clause, we use a conjunction though. Though is used to join subordinate or dependent clauses to main clauses. Which is the main clause here? The match continued. And to combine the other clause to the main clause, we use though. When we add though, it becomes a subordinate clause and it is used, that is this conjunction is used to add this subordinate clause to the main clause. So I repeat, subordinating conjunctions, they are called so because they help to introduce subordinate clauses. They are also used to join subordinate or dependent clauses to main clauses. First example, though it started drizzling, the match continued. Though is an example for the subordinating conjunction. As soon as my father came home, I started narrating the incident. So as soon as my father came home, that is a subordinate clause. I started narrating the incident, that's a main clause. So as soon as is a subordinating conjunction. I want to move on further. The third one is correlative conjunctions. They are used as pairs always. What do you mean by pair? Pair is always two. So always we just use two words together here. They are called correlative conjunctions. They are always used in pairs. Okay, point number one. Then point number two, the two connectors in each sentence that are related to each other are called correlative conjunctions. So the two connectors you use in each sentence, they are always used in pairs. The two connectors, that are used in pairs always, right? Like the two words, they are used, always is used together. And these two words in each sentence are related to each other. That's why they are called correlative conjunctions. Let me just go for the example now. Neither my brother nor my sister attended the wedding. Neither nor. It is a structure. It is always used together, right? And they are always used in pairs. So neither nor. Neither my brother nor my sister attended the wedding. That means my brother didn't attend the wedding. My sister didn't attend the wedding. So neither my brother nor my sister attended the wedding. So neither nor, it is an example for the correlative conjunction here. Look at the next example. She is not only a singer but also a dancer. So not only but also, that is also an example for correlative conjunction. So she is a singer, she is also a dancer. To combine these two, we just use the correlative conjunction not only but also. She is not only a singer but also a dancer. So now I have introduced all these conjunctions to you. Let me give you some examples for each. So I repeat, there are three types of conjunctions: coordinating conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions, correlative conjunctions. And what are called conjunctions, you know very well. They are the words which are used to connect or to link or to combine two sentences or two groups of words. Let me move on further. I would like to just give you some examples for each type of conjunctions. Look at the screen, I read out. Right, first one, coordinating conjunctions. And, or, for, otherwise, so, but, yet, still, as well as, etc. There are other words also. There are some other words. The second one, subordinating conjunctions. When, though, although, since, until, till, after, as, before, if, unless, whereas, while, in case, as soon as, etc. The third one, I told you already, correlative conjunctions are always used in pairs. It is two words together always. It is two words in each sentence. Neither nor, either or, not only but also, both and, no sooner than. Let us see some examples for each type of conjunction. First one, coordinating conjunctions. So now I have just used it in sentences. Let us see the sentences now. Slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. Here and, that is a conjunction. That's a coordinating conjunction. Finish your work or you will not be sent home. Or, that is a coordinating conjunction. I was ill, so I could not attend the class. So, that is also a coordinating conjunction. Let us move on to subordinating conjunctions. If you work hard, you will secure high marks. If is a subordinating conjunction. You know very well, I have already discussed this with you. Subordinating conjunctions are used to introduce subordinate clauses. They are also used to just add subordinate clauses to main clauses. So look at the first example. If you work hard, that is a subordinate clause. You will secure high marks, that's a main clause. So when you add the conjunction if, it is used or it is very helpful to make a subordinate clause here, and this subordinate clause is just added to the main clause. Look at the second example. Though he was sick, he came to school yesterday. Though he was sick, subordinate clause. He came to school yesterday, that's the main clause. So again, though is used as a subordinating conjunction. The third example, I was doing homework when my friend came to my house. I was doing homework, that is the main clause. When my friend came to my house, that is a subordinate clause. Here, when is a conjunction. As it is used to introduce a subordinate clause, it is known as the subordinating conjunction. So the third one, correlative conjunctions. My sister is both a singer and a dancer. Both and. So these two are related to each other in this sentence. And they are used just to combine two sentences also. What are the two sentences? My sister is a singer, my sister is a dancer. To combine or to link or to connect these two sentences, we use the conjunction, that is the correlative conjunction, both and. Okay, so these two are related to each other, they are called correlative conjunctions. Then example number 2, neither Jane nor Ram has attended the function. Again, neither nor, that is the example for correlative conjunctions. The car is not only economical but also feels good to drive. Again, not only but also. No sooner did the teacher enter the class than the boys stood up. No sooner is always used with than. So no sooner than. So what do you mean by this? What is the meaning? As soon as the teacher entered the class, the boys stood up. Here, no sooner and than are used as correlative conjunctions. Then let us just pass on to the exercise. This is the exercise given in your book. Let us answer some of the questions. Complete the sentences using the right connectors. They may use the term linkers. Sometimes they just use link words. Sometimes they just give you the term conjunctions. So all these are one and the same. So no need to get confused. Call me dash you need money. Call me in case you need money. It is raining. Take an umbrella dash you will get wet. It's raining. Take an umbrella or else you will get wet. Take an umbrella or you will get wet. Take an umbrella, otherwise you will get wet. So all these three answers are correct. And the third one, dash the minister, dash the officers visited the affected areas. Right? Both the minister and the officers. Both the minister and the officers. That means the minister visited the affected areas. The officers also visited the affected areas. To connect these two, we use both and. Next. Dash Ramu dash Bala will buy vegetables. Neither Ramu nor Bala will buy vegetables. So neither and nor, that is a correlative conjunction. Again in sentence number 3, we saw the correlative conjunction only, both and. Question number 5. We came late dash we missed the train. We came late so we missed the train. Right? We came, let me just change the sentence a little bit. Okay, try. We came early dash we missed the train. We came early dash we missed the train. What is the correct conjunction here? We came early but we missed the train. But here sentence is different. So look at the sentence. We came late so we missed the train. So that is the reason. We came late and that's the reason why we missed the train. My mother called me dash I was playing football. My mother called me when I was playing football. So these are the very easy questions. You can easily solve it. And now I hope you have understood this particular topic very well. Let me move on to the next grammatical item, nominalization. And what do you mean by nominalization? Right? We have a process called nominalization. Whenever we produce a noun, from other part of speech. For example, right, you have a noun, you have a verb, and you have an adjective, and you have an adverb, and then you have preposition. So many parts of speech we have. Right? You have already come across these parts of speech, in previous standards. And basically, right, noun is a naming word, you know very well, and a verb is an action word, and the third one is actually, what is it? Right, adjective. It's a describing word. It describes the quality of the noun. And adverb, right, it just tells you the manner and time of action. That is how the action is done, right? Or when the action is done. That is called adverbial of time, adverbial of manner, and all these, right? The horse runs fast. Fast is an adverb, right? And she is an intelligent girl. Intelligent is an adjective. And Rama runs fast. Rama is a noun. And then again, verb runs. Rama runs fast. Again, runs is a verb. So you must be able to identify the noun, verb, adjective and adverb, etc. Let me come back to the point. And nominalization, what do you mean nominalization? So in any part of speech, like okay, a word is given, so it's an adjective, or it may be a verb, or it may be an adjective also. So that is changed into the noun form. It's noun form. That is called nominalization. I repeat, look at the screen. Nominalization refers to the process of producing a noun from another part of speech by adding a derivational affix. Means you add like a prefix or a suffix. Affix is like the one letter or a group of letters you attach to the word. That's called an affix. And you get a derivational affix, you add it, and then you get the noun form. So that process is known as nominalization. So let us just move on now. When we normalize a sentence, what happens? A grammatical expression is turned into a noun phrase. What do you mean by grammatical expression? So that may be an adjective, or that may function as a verb. The particular word can function as a verb. The particular word can just function as an adjective, or the word can function as an adverb also. So whatever be the grammatical function, it is turned into a noun phrase. So changing the part of speech, it is changing one particular word into its noun form, right? Whatever be the part of speech, you are just changing that into the noun form. So that process, that is called nominalization. Okay, right? I repeat, nominalization refers to the process of producing a noun from another part of speech by adding a derivational affix. When we nominalize a sentence, a grammatical expression is turned into a noun phrase. Let us see some examples. Admire. Admire is a verb. I admire the children. I admire the boy. Admire is a verb. And admiration, that is a noun. Noun form. Fail is a verb, and a failure is a noun form. And then punish is a verb, then punishment is a noun. Bleed, from the word we get bled. Then lose, loss. Lose is a verb, and loss it's noun form. Then prove, that's a verb, then proof, noun. Speak, I speak English. He speaks French. Speaking, that is an action here, so that's a verb. And speech, I like the orator's speeches. Speech is the name of something here, so that is a noun. Control, control. Sometimes the same word can be just used as a verb, can be used as a noun also. How does it happen? Let me use it in sentences. I would like to control the children, or the teacher controls the children in the class. So control, that is a verb when it denotes an action, right? I want to bring the children under my control, right? Control is the name of something here, so that's a noun. So this is how the same word functions as a noun and verb in different sentences. Let me move on. So look at the next example, beautiful. And beautiful is an adjective, and peacock is a beautiful bird. Bird is a noun, and what kind of a bird is it? Beautiful. So it just describes the bird. So always adjectives are describing words. Beautiful, that is an adjective. And from the adjective beautiful, we get the noun beauty. The beauty of the peacock is admired by people. The beauty of the peacock is enjoyed by the people. Next, dangerous. That is also an adjective, right? It's a dangerous path, right? And dangerous path, what kind of a path is it? Dangerous. So that is an adjective. And danger, that's a noun. So I read out once again. Admire, admiration. Fail, failure. Punish, punishment. Bleed, bled. Lose, loss. Prove, proof. Speak, speech. Control, control. Beautiful, beauty. Dangerous, danger. Then let us just go on further, and there is an exercise in the book. They have given some sentences, and you come across some other part of speech here. It may be a verb, or it may be an adjective, and that is to be changed into its noun form. So that is the question. So change the underlined words into their noun forms and rewrite the sentences. This is the question you come across in the board examination also, and this is a very important question. So listen carefully. He decided to turn down her request. Decided, that's a verb. And now the word decided is underlined. So it has to be changed into its noun form. And while changing it into its noun form, what should be done? the sentence should be rewritten correctly. So when you change decide into decision, the sentence should also be modified slightly to give the correct meaning. So he made a decision to turn down her request. So he decided, you cannot just change it as it is. He decision, that's completely wrong usage and wrong sentence formation also. So he decided, it becomes he made a decision. So when a verb or any other part of speech is just transformed or just changed into its noun form, and to check whether the sentence you frame with the noun form is also correct. Otherwise you will be losing marks. Sentence number 2. We succeeded in our attempt. Succeed, that's a verb. And when we are changing this into a noun form, we got success in our attempt. Success is the noun form of the verb succeed. So succeed, you just get success. We got success in our attempt. So question number 3. India became an independent country in the year 1947. So look at the word here. Underlined word is independent. Independent country, right? Okay, what kind of a country is it? Independent. That's an adjective here. Now we are going to change this into its noun form. India got its independence. The noun form of the word independent is independence. So India got its independence in the year 1947. So there is a slight change here according to the new noun form, according to the new word you just use, change the sentence. Sentence number 4. Suresh is always punctual and regular. It has earned him a good job. Now look at this sentence. They have given you 2 sentences and you should just combine it into a single sentence by changing the underlined words into noun forms. Suresh is always punctual and regular. The underlined words are punctual and regular. So punctual and regular both are adjectives. So they ought to be changed into their noun forms. So punctual, what is the noun form? Punctuality. And regular, what is the noun form? Regularity. So now let us change the sentence. Suresh's punctuality and regularity have earned him a good job. So that is the correct answer. The policeman arrived quickly. Okay, look at it, arrived. So that is a verb here. Now it has to be changed into what its noun form. The quick arrival of the policeman made us happy. Then here arrived, okay, it just becomes, what is it? Arrival. So arrived is the verb, and when it is just changed into its noun form, it just becomes arrival, right? I will just explain this once again. Let us decided. Look at the first question. There's an exercise given in the book. He decided to turn down the request. Decided, that is a verb. He made a decision to turn down a request. So now here we have changed decided into decision. That is a verb into its noun form. The second sentence, we succeeded in our attempt. Succeed, that is a verb, and succeed, the a noun form is success. So the verb is just changed into its noun form here. So let's change the sentence also. India became an independent country. Again, I just told you independent is an adjective. Now it has been changed into independence, that is its noun form. And Suresh is always punctual and regular. Punctuality and regularity, right? So punctual, regular, both are adjectives as I explained. So punctual, its noun form is punctuality. Regular, its noun form is regularity. So Suresh's punctuality and regularity have earned him a good job. The policeman arrived. Okay, look at the last sentence. Arrived. Okay, I've already explained. So arrive, the verb is just changed into what is it? Arrival. Arrival, that is a noun form. So now we are just changing the entire sentence, or we are combining it also. When 2 sentences are given, right, you just combine it. At the same time, the other parts of speech should be changed into noun form. While changing it, right, okay, the sentence should convey the same meaning. So the policeman arrived quickly. It made us happy. The policeman arrived. Arrived, again changed into arrival, right? The quick arrival of the policeman made us happy. Now you understand how to change the other parts of speech into their noun forms. This is called a nominalization. Today we saw 2 different topics. First one was conjunctions. The second one is normalization. Let me sum up all the important points once. So what do you mean by a conjunction? They are also known as connectors or linkers. Conjunctions are used to join words, sometimes a group of words, sometimes sentences also. There are 3 types of conjunctions. What are they? Coordinating conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions, and correlative conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions are used to link two groups of words that independently make sense. Subordinating conjunctions help to introduce subordinate clauses. They are used to join subordinate or dependent clauses to the main clause. I told you how to identify the main clause and the subordinate clause also. So please practice this with a lot of sentences, because to understand simple, complex and compound and to just answer the questions in well, you should be able to identify these main clauses and the subordinate clauses. And what are known as correlative conjunctions? They are the two connectors in each sentence that are related to each other, and they are always used in pairs. That is, always used, two words are used in a sentence. So coordinating conjunctions, what are the examples? Let me just give a few examples here. Otherwise, so, but, it, still, for, all these. And subordinating conjunctions, though, although, even though, since, until, whereas, etc. And correlative conjunctions are neither nor, either or, not only but also, no sooner than. And we just saw the examples for all these three conjunctions. So there are two different types of questions you'll come across in the exam. First one is, they'll give you the blanks. They will give you a sentence with a blank. They'll ask you just use the right connector or right conjunction. And second type of question is, they may give you two different sentences and ask you just to combine using the conjunctions or using the connectors. Let me give you one example. I was ill yesterday, full stop. I could not attend the classes. So here there are two sentences, and you should combine these two sentences using the right linker or using the right conjunction. I was ill yesterday, so I could not attend the classes. So now I have just combined it and I have just used the conjunction so. I was ill yesterday, so I could not attend the classes. So this is how you have to answer the questions. So sometimes they give you a sentence with a blank and just you should use a suitable linker. You will be given two different sentences and you will have to combine those two sentences using the right conjunction. This is the second type of question you will come across. Let me move on to the next topic. Let me sum up the important points now. Nominalization is the process of producing a noun from another part of speech. How do you get it? How do you get the noun form? Sometimes we add the derivation affix and get it. Sometimes we add prefixes or sometimes we add suffixes. We get some derivatives and from that we get a noun form. When we normalize a sentence, what is happening? The grammatical expression, whatever it is, like whether it acts as a verb or acts as an adjective, it is transformed into a noun phrase. And I gave you some examples like admire, admiration, fail, failure, and they may ask you to just change the words into their noun forms. Hope you understood what I taught you. Wish you all the best. Thank you.